that we also need to roll out, certainly as far as you're concerned, and the government will be making the point later on today, are these heat pumps. But it is going to be voluntary, at least for now, is what we heard from the government minister this morning. Do you think that's the right way forward?
No, I don't. And I think everyone's in a bit of shock this morning, to be honest, because we all thought that there was going to be a legal requirement by a certain date in the 2030s, whether that's 2032 or 2035, that beyond that date, there would be it would be legally impossible to buy a new gas boiler. Now we're just hearing that the government is backtracking on that. And I think what you can see here really is the impact of an almighty row between the Treasury and Number 10, and the Treasury has clearly won, and therefore the funding that's really required to get these heat pumps into people's homes fast enough simply isn't there. So I think that's one real concern, that we don't have the funding to really scale up at the kind of pace that we need on these heat pumps. And secondly, it seems just such an extraordinary omission not to have put in at the same package a really comprehensive home insulation scheme. We know that heat pumps are only going to work well if your home is insulated, and there simply isn't enough money in this package to properly insulate homes either. So I'm afraid this is yet another of Boris Johnson's, big flagship policies that when you start to look at some of the details, they're simply not there. And that on the eve of the COP climate summit, this big Glasgow summit in a couple of weeks' time, I think that's sending a very bad signal.
And as far as insulating your homes is concerned, I mean, do you still think that it's a good idea for environmental protesters to sit down and block the M25?
I've said before that I think what they should be blocking is the Treasury. I mean, I think we need to be putting the pressure on those people who are making these decisions. It's not motorists on the M25 who are making decisions about rolling out insulation. It's Rishi Chansellor, the fossil fuel chancellor, in the Treasury. So that's where we need to be putting pressure. I'm really sorry that it looks as if the Treasury has won out in the battle over whether or not enough funding is going to be put into this programme. You only have to compare the UK with other countries in terms of how we're doing rolling out heat pumps. We've basically only put out around a quarter of the heat pumps that they have in Germany, a sixth of the number that they have in Italy, a tenth of the number in France. So we're really lagging behind other European countries. This was the opportunity to scale up at the speed and at the scale that the science demands, and the government's flunked it. And that is a real tragedy, both for all of those people who are living in fuel poverty, who can't afford to keep their homes warm, but also in terms of our climate emissions as well. The kind of insulation programme that so many people want to see, this comprehensive street by street, local authority led programme, would not only get people's emissions down, it would get their fuel bills down, but it would also create hundreds of thousands of jobs in every single constituency in the country. It is a massively lost opportunity.
You're not advocating, I should say, the blocking of government buildings, though, are you really?
I'm advocating, when it's necessary, peaceful direct action, and I've never been afraid to do that, and I've taken that kind of action myself.
That would be illegal, wouldn't it, to block a government building? That'd be illegal, wouldn't it?
The whole point about peaceful direct action is that you create some kind of obstruction. What I'm simply saying is that rather than, if you're going to take,
the Treasury would be illegal.
Sometimes there are bigger illegalities. We're facing at the moment the issue of an existential threat to life on Earth. I think that in that context, if people do choose to take peaceful direct action, they're legitimate to do that. They take the legal consequences.
It's not legitimate, though.
What I'm suggesting, Kay, if I could just finish, what I'm suggesting is,
I'm challenging
on the
you.
M25
We're having a robust conversation. You're advocating people breaking the law, blocking the doors to the Treasury, and I'm saying that's illegal. And I'm asking you to say whether you are advocating people acting in an illegal way for the greater good. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that sometimes when there is a greater illegality, if you like, if you think about our legal commitments to get our emissions down, if you think about the fact that climate change poses an existential threat to life on Earth, I'm saying that sometimes there are occasions when peaceful direct action is legitimate, even if that means breaking the law if it's done in a peaceful way. I'm saying that rather than blocking the M25, where what you're essentially doing is putting yourself in the way of people who have absolutely no influence over government policy, if people are choosing to take that kind of action, it would make an awful lot more sense to do it when the people that they are focusing on are the decision makers. Right now, we've got a decision maker in the Treasury, the Chancellor, who is not putting the funding behind the kind of programme that we need to see to get our homes insulated, to shift away from the fossil fuel economy. That is one of the most serious issues that we face today. And I'm saying that I think if people do take peaceful direct action in that cause, then I could quite understand why they would do that.
Yeah, but it can't be legitimate if it's illegal. That's an oxymoron.
No, it's not. The suffragettes, the civil rights movement.
Yeah, they got arrested. They were arrested, and then the law was subsequently changed, but it was illegal, so they were arrested.
I'm not arguing about whether it's legal or not. What I'm arguing about.
Yeah, you were. You said it was legitimate action. It's not legitimate if it's illegal.
That's where I'm differing with you, Kay. I'm saying that there can be action that is both illegal and legitimate in certain circumstances. I'm certainly not advocating it lightly, but I am saying, for example, when I was arrested for intervening, sitting down outside a fracking protest, I was subsequently found to not have committed a crime, but I sat down there, I was arrested for that. I was prepared to take the legal consequences because fracking was on the front line of a whole new fossil fuel industry. I think that right now, when literally what we're talking about is the livability of this planet going forward, I would not want to be able to look into the eyes of future generations and explain why I didn't take every peaceful action that I could to try to make sure that we get our emissions down. Right now, what we're talking about is this government's new plan. The sadness is, the tragedy is that the plan is not going to be enough to get us where we need to be, even according to the government's own advisors, the Committee on Climate Change. And therefore, I think it is right that people make as much noise as possible to try to put pressure on the government to step up and put in place the policies that we need.